Do I have to press this? The Parks, Recreation, Cultural Service Committee meeting to order. May I have a motion for the minutes? Move seconded. Call the questions in favor of opposed, motion carried. The next meeting is going to be November 26th, 4 o'clock. The agenda, any addition to the agenda? Oh, Michael?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to, I have a question later about the Bark Park, but I have an item I'd like to add on Rabbitat, or rabbits, sorry.
Okay.
Rabbits and expression of interest, a memo that we got.
Okay, so let's put it 3B.
Thanks, that's all.
Okay, good. Okay, so now let's go to the first item, which is the street banners program update. Okay, Alex, anything you want to add to the report?
Good afternoon. Nice to see you all. I have nothing further to add, and I am willing and able and happy to answer any and all questions.
Okay, Carol?
Thank you very much. Thank you for the information earlier, too. I understand that on number 5 Road, there are 38 poles on the east side and 37 on the west side, and that's a total of 75 light poles. And in your report, you said that one of the options is to retrofit banner holders onto the retrofitting existing street poles, adapting poles not originally designed to hold banners. And I was just curious about the budget that was suggested, 1.4 to 1.8 million dollars, or 1.4 to 2.5 million dollars. Would the 1.4 then be the price tag for retrofitting?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, the $1.4 million estimate is based on removal and replacement and installation of new poles, not the retrofitting of the existing.
Okay, so why could we not just add pole hangers to the existing poles?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, there are several concerns around the safety of just adding hangers to the existing poles. And in order to do that, we would require an engineering consultant to advise on the feasibility of that. So the cost is currently a little bit unknown. What I can say is that for poles that we do hang banners off of, they're generally taller and larger and have larger bases than the existing poles on number 5.
Okay, well, I just did a little bit of research here, and because the most expensive heavy-duty, wind-resistant pole hanger I could find online was only $500. So when we start talking 1.4 million, it's hard for me to wrap my head around how we could be so far apart, because at 75 poles, that would be $18,000 each. So, but that is what you're saying, is just to take the pole out, put a new one in, so we're not going to retrofit.
Through the chair to Councillor, yes, the estimates provided in this report are for removal and replacement with new poles.
So, I mean, I'm not on this committee, so I can't make a motion, but I think we should look at the option of just adapting what we have to banners on number 5 Road.
Michael?
Thank you. Following up on that one, that point from Councillor Day. So to go to directly the kind of third option, the street banner only poles, could we not potentially do like a hybrid model where we retrofit some and add others?
Through the chair to Councillor Ruff, there are available options. I think the key for the options printed here is that there's engineering work and uncertainty involved with those options. We can certainly take direction and look at what the costing would be, but there would be additional engineering work and cost required to get to those numbers.
Great, thank you. A few more questions in other categories. So I appreciate that, and I know that the quote here is not just for the capital cost of the hangars and the groundwork, and in some cases like stabilizing the ground a lot more than it currently is, and the staff time and all that other business. But I also value the option of kind of putting 75 hangars. I don't really see it on like there's no map provided on like where those 75 locations are. I was kind of thinking that there would maybe be 32 when I kind of mapped out the 8 major intersections along number 5 Road. So I kind of thought maybe we'd have about 32. So the 75, are we like set on that number?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, the referral was to take a look at the section between Blundell and Steveston Highway, which we all refer to as the Highway to Heaven. In that stretch, it's 75 poles on both sides, 37 and 38 on either side. So that's the purview we were looking at. If council would like us to look at, let's say, Westminster Highway down to Steveston Highway, we certainly can.
Yeah, so a comment on that is, yeah, I think that would be a bit excessive in my assumption of what would be needed for just Blundell to Steveston Highway. And I know that was listed in the report, but I guess I find it hard to believe that we could stuff 75 in that location. One thing I really value of this in this report is under the retrofit existing street poles paragraph, it does mention examining alternative street banner designs and materials. Could you comment on that? Were we talking about like smaller ones that would potentially require less infrastructure upgrades?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, that was added to provide an option and consideration that if the existing poles are not structurally sound and suitable to host our current format or current design of banners, that we could look at other options, lighter material that perhaps would allow more air to pass through it, or perhaps a different shape that would reduce the wind load on the lamp standard. That is the issue with respect to retrofitting existing poles versus new ones. With the existing poles may not have the structural capacity. They may not have been engineered to handle the wind loads.
Okay, at this point, I'll just let more committee discussion occur before I kind of give my position on this, but I do feel open to some, maybe not this full program of street banners, 75 for that length, with all new poles, but yeah, I'm kind of mixed between a few of the options right now. So thank you.
Bill?
Yeah, thanks very much. First of all, thank you very much for bringing back my referral and the copious detail of it. The 75 existing poles are an actual hand count. Okay, so it's accurate. The 38 poles on the one side is an actual count, so thank you very much for that. I have a couple of questions before we rush off. The report is for information, so it gives us time to think about it. I'm assuming by math interpolation, if we only did 19 polls, it would be $700,000, correct? Divide it in half, 1.4 million by 2, divide the number of banners by 2. There's no reason to put banners on the west side, but I asked for that, and we got a true picture. I think on what we should be doing is two things. I think we should, before many of you came along, we put the banners up and the banner stanchions up in Steveston. I think you should try to pull that report way back when. We did Steveston. Steveston, of course, cost will have gone up since Steveston, but it's not that, it's the principle involved and the kind of banner that's involved, the kind of stanchion that's involved, and it's not a heavy-duty pump, et cetera. Okay, that was a referral I made 25 years ago or whatever it was. Anyhow, my point here, Mr. Chairman, the report is a good report. It gives us opportunity for thinking, and I don't think we should make a decision tonight. What I would like to do is have staff go back and design or look at two major banners, one at the north end of the Highway to Heaven, one at the south end of the Highway to Heaven, as an entrance to welcome to the Highway to Heaven, and buy a banner or whatever. And could be one on one side, one on the other. and the cost for those two banners on it. The other thing, we don't need 38 banners on, if you wish, on the east side. There aren't 38 religious organizations along there. There are only, and I think we should count those, in the idea of putting a banner maybe in front of each of the organizations as they go along, if indeed it was a faith banner or whatever. And one at the Gurdwara, one at the Muslim, one at the whatever along the way. And that would cut it down immensely on it. The report gives us, in my opinion, a very real overview of what is there. And I think we should work towards getting banners over there, and whether we do them, 2 or 3 or half a dozen at a time, then we look at it on it. The report, I think, is a good report on what we're doing in terms of banners. It actually came back and what I thought it would, and I'm quite happy with it. So I'd like to receive it for information, Mr. Chairman, but can you take those comments? I hate to say it under advisement, or do I have to put a resolution forward? Well, the resolution is the cost of 2 banners or 3 banners at the entrance to the Highway to Heaven and the exit to Highway to Heaven, the entrance at either way, one coming from north-south, one from south-north. I'm not saying where the Highway to Heaven starts and ends. Well, I know where it starts and ends, but which is the entrance, okay, so that we have something. And I think that's the idea, to step in the right direction to move something forward. When we get that, then I think it's time we could look at some costs and apportioning some monies towards it. But right now, I don't think we can afford to, we can do that yet, because we don't really have the plan.
Right, okay.
Okay? So thanks, it's a good report, I appreciate it.
Okay, perhaps we can go back to that. So Nora?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate the comments from the other councillors. Thank you for the report. For me, though, there actually just isn't enough information about the option of retrofitting the existing streetlight poles, because it doesn't look to me that it's been looked into which poles we have and what the load capacity is on the poles. So like when we even just want to put a sign on a crane at a job site, we have to find out the load of the crane and get an engineering report to sign off on adding anything to it. So I understand that that's part of the process. But if all of the poles are the same manufacturer, all we need to do is contact the manufacturer and find out the load limit. And then the other question is, some of the lampposts have a sign on them. Like, let's say they have a no stopping sign or whatever, and some lampposts don't have any, which tells me that there actually is some load capacity for signs. It's just a matter of how much. So I would like to, as part of the referral back, if we're doing it as a resolution, to just get some more information on, just contact the manufacturer, find out the load limit. We don't have any of that information. It's like that hasn't even been looked into at this point. So I think that we just need a little bit more information.
Any comments?
Through the chair to Councillor Galanders.
Yeah, sorry, through the chair to council. I can also add that another critical point is assessing the current condition of each of the poles. So I agree with your assessment that there would be a structural engineer to look at the load limit. The second thing would be the current assessment of the condition of each of the poles.
Yeah, so we can get a cost estimate of what it would cost to assess the poles and find out the manufacturing load capacity of each pole. Then we'll know what we're dealing with, and then we'll know, do we want to retrofit just 12 or 20 or 10, depending on the number of institutions. So I'm hearing from others that we just need a few more options. So find out how much it would cost to analyze the poles, have an option of just 2 banners, one on either end, and or banners just on the east side, and or banners just in front of the institutions. And so then a range of costs of those 4 things. Would be what I would like to do next, I think.
Okay, so do you want to put into? Okay.
Sure.
Oh,
Andy needs to talk
okay.
still first.
2 minutes.
Mr. Chair. Oh, there you go. Are those Earth minutes?
Whatever.
Yeah, thanks for the report. It was interesting, and through the chair. Yeah, I agree with a lot of the comments that have already been made, but the one thing I wonder about too, like reading the report, it's kind of new to me. So starting in 93, I think it says, starting primarily in city center, and then it's expanded from there to different areas like Steveston and different areas. So that's all great. But what I'm wondering is, has there ever been like a master plan or a plan that, you know, it kind of takes every 5 years and plans it out? Like this is, you know, the areas we might be going, and including things like infrastructure issues to do with the kind of poles, because there are different poles in the city, they're not all the same. So would it be beneficial to look at it comprehensively with the issues that have been brought up, and look at it kind of 5 years down the road or more, whatever period of time, and lay out a plan for where we're going and how you do it, what's required, what's the cost, what type of pole? Has that been done?
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, no. The short answer is at this time, the program has, since it was first initiated as a beautification in the downtown core in the city center area, it has grown organically. And there is no overall plan to, you know, to plan where next phases to perhaps tie into wayfinding strategy, tourism, and identity of certain areas and such.
Sure, and things like infrastructure and what type of pole and all that. So I think a lot of the comments are along the same line, and I agree with that. It's a good report, but maybe it's a good idea to have a bit more comprehensive look at it, where we go and how we do it, and budgets would be part of that. Under two?
Yes, you will. Okay, good. So maybe, Bill?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The comments are all good, and that's what I was hoping it would be on this one. Since it's the eighth wonder of the world, and it is the eighth wonder of the world, and recognized nationally, internationally, et cetera, on the highway to heaven, there might be an opportunity for federal, provincial, and tourism money on this, that we do it properly, because this is an icon, and it exists nowhere else in the world. Okay, from Steveston Highway to Blundell and beyond. And so I think we need to play on that. And I'd refer the report back with gratitude, okay, to fix it up, to answer some of the questions that we've asked today, and have staff see where we can possibly get some other monies on it and bring other partners involved, because I think people would want to get involved in this kind of thing. And the faith groups themselves, I've spoken to them, are happy, but they have money, but they don't have money. You know, when the money goes in the box, it goes in the box for faith. It doesn't go in the box for other things. So, but we might even be able to have them contributing something in a small manner. We look at it in the bigger project. So I refer back to staff to answer previous suggested questions and comments.
Okay, so the motion is to refer back to staff to ask for more information, including the four points you made. I think plus the information that we can get on the Stevenson
Yes,
project,
yeah,
right?
Steveston was
Yeah, we have to,
a single project. We put it together because we felt we should be doing something down there way back when.
right, and then the possibility of getting some funding from other levels of government or institutions to make this into a
It's
viable
a
project.
cultural thing for us.
Okay, so seconded. Any further comments? Michael?
Yeah, thank you. On the referral, just to clarify, there's a couple of points there, and Councillor Hobbs made a good point there on the establishment of like a full-on program, and staff commented on kind of how it can infuse into the wayfinding strategy and all that. So I would hope that would also be part of it. And then it wasn't brought up, but I highlighted it. I think others maybe did as well. And the quote that this must be a secular policy. And so the discussion around having like a large sign at either end of this, I believe the policy is already providing the guidance that those large signages must be secular in nature. And just final comments on this referral, which I will support. I think as outlined in the staff report and from some visitors to Richmond today that I spoke to, Three points. One, yes, we get great engagement with the public, like 600 submissions, 6,000 votes on an annual basis. Neighborhoods who haven't had this in their neighborhood, when they get it, they feel like they're part of the city where they weren't quite there before. And then the piece on the circular economy that this fits into as well, where we don't just trash all the banners at the end of the year, we put them into bags and give those away. And that's, people, when they see that, they're like, wow, what a great program you have. Wow, we should take this idea back and spread it. So it's a great educational piece as well that I think is part of this program. So.
Carol?
Thank you very much. Well, I think committee is very wise to refer it back because there are more questions than answers. So I think you've absolutely done the right thing. And we need more information, that's for sure. And when it comes to the secular designs, I get that. You're absolutely right, Councillor Wolf. We can't make this religious-based. It has to be multicultural-based. And also, I think every one of those Highway to Heaven institutions is on agricultural land, and every one of them must farm the back. So I think if we make it more of an agricultural-based, that's something that could benefit everybody. And I did have sticker shock over the 1.4 to 2.5 million price tag, because I looked at, well, what do we spend now? We have 1,088 banners in Richmond, and the budget is $68,000. So there's a disconnect between, to me, what was in the report and what is actually what we're spending today. So yeah, let's hammer down the details and come up with some great solutions. And I would love to see street banners along Number 5 Road. It could really use a lift. Thank you.
Well, actually, I have the same question as well. So what is the difference between the, what we are doing and this new project? If we can do that many banners for that little money, 86. So, I mean, what's the difference?
To the chair, the reason for the $1.5 million is it is we're provided 3 options, and one of the costing is that the lamp standards that are currently in place were not designed to hold street banners. Therefore, if we were to install street banners on those poles, we would do an engineering assessment of those poles. It is an educated guess, or we are working on the presumption that they probably would not be able to hold those wind loads, subject to an engineering study. In order to be able to have lamp standards which could support street banners for the entire stretch between Blendell and Steepston, it would cost $1.5 million to install new lamp standards.
But how about Number 3 Road?
If I can just add through the chair, the main difference really is the lower threshold is our operating dollars. The big numbers in front of you are the capital costs to implement the new poles and the infrastructure required. That's the biggest difference.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, so seeing no more questions, I call the question on the motion. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving onward. Number 2. Aspect River Green Lotman Public Artwork Terms of Reference. So, anything you want to add?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing to add, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay. Carol.
Hi, thank you very much for the report. It's always exciting to get new public art. I'm a little confused, though. So this is a big one. This is worth $325,000. So this is not a little park bench. This is going to be something really significant. In your staff report, you write on page 17 that the short list artists will be encouraged to explore contemporary forms. But ASPAC on page 39 said the artists will be given as much creative license as possible to activate the identified site location with a public artwork that offers continued engagement in a meaningful and lasting way. And one of the things that artists I've talked to have said is that public art should be timeless. And I think that aspect is allowing the artists to have more creative license. Why would we, as a city, be encouraging contemporary forms?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, I think in this case, contemporary is being a very general term, but we are basing the themes on the themes of the City Center Public Art Plan, which is about honoring yesterday, celebrating today and tomorrow. So it is quite a broad term.
Okay, so, I mean, I just don't want to see a teardrop or something that just does not speak to the history of Richmond. I think it's so important that we bring, like you say, the past and the future together. And an example of that is at the old Steveston London site, where we have a really cool stainless steel fishing boat that's stylized, but you can still tell it's a fishing boat, and it speaks to the history of Steveston. So when this comes back, that's what I would hope to see. So, thank you.
Okay, good. Bill?
Yeah, just a quick question on this. Is Aspect paying for this?
Sorry, could you repeat that again?
Is Aspect paying for this?
Through the chair to Councillor McNulty, yes, this is a private public art project funded by ASPAC.
And are there, given the development over there, are they going to be contributing more monies for other public art along the way, since they're going to be the beneficials of the public art?
Through the chair to Councillor McNulty, I do have a representative from ASPAC here, Ms. Jamie Colville.
Yes, please.
And Jamie's who?
Jamie Colville from ASPAC.
Okay.
Thank you for having us here today, Council. Through the chair, my name is Jamie Colville. I am the Director of Development with ASPAC Developments. Just to answer your question, we do have multiple phases to come in River Green. We've built out quite a big community out there to date. We've done 5 beautiful public art pieces, one with Thomas Cannell, Susan Point, beautiful Doug Copeland piece right at Hollybridge and River Road. And our recent was with Nathan Lee at Hollybridge, the beautiful chimney. And so with this project, we have $325,000 that we'll be paying through the public art program. And with our future phases, we do have a lot more public art to come.
Good, you have more development to come, and our price just went up. Thank you very much.
Okay. Andy?
Thank you, through the chair. Well, first of all, thanks for the report. And when I read it, I just thought, wow, it's, I know it could be more perhaps, but it's such a significant contribution to the arts in Richmond. So looking forward to what it looks like. And from the attachment, I take it that this is kind of along the same line in terms of budget as what Typhus was and some of the other ones around there, just to give me the scale of what we're looking at.
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, that's right. TIFO is about $330,000.
Yeah, so it's very close. So my only question on it is, it is one piece, one location, because when I look at that amount of money, I think, oh, is it going to be like a couple smaller pieces throughout the development? But that's not the plan. The plan would be for one significant major piece.
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, the plan right now is in one location. It could be one human-sized piece, but it also could be a couple or 3 pieces that are in connection with each other.
Okay, one location though.
Yeah,
in that.
one location.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this staff recommendation is moved, second. No further questions. So call the question on the motion. Those in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much. And number 3, Railway Greenway lighting. Okay. So, Calvin, anything to add to the report?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing further to add, but happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so Laura?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the report. I think you guys did a really good job of analyzing all the different needs and wants. It started from a petition from a group that wanted some lighting. I do use the Railway Greenway all the time, regularly, and I walk there at night or after dark as well. And after we did this referral, I specifically spent a lot of time just seeing what it was like and making sure I understood it completely. And my experience is that the street lights from Railway shine onto the path perfectly adequately, except in two spots between Steveston and Blundell, between Steveston and Granville, where there's a path that goes through the trees, and then there's the greenway asphalt path, which moves out of the way. And in those situations, the streetlights from Railway shine onto the wooded path just fine. So you don't need to take the dark path. You can take the wooded path. There's also, headlights. I bring a headlamp with me. I found I didn't need it, but some people would if you don't see that well at night. And also, you can buy LED little lights for your bicycle for $25. Scooters have headlights. And if someone really doesn't want to go on the dark part, there's the bike path right on Railway. So I do think it would be nice to have some lights, and I particularly like the look of the ambient bollards. I think that's a really lovely, it gives this lovely, luxurious feeling of a fancy path, and it's not too invasive on wildlife and anything else. I just question if it's necessary at all. At $1.25 million, it just doesn't feel necessary to me. I think if there was an option that came back with just ambient bollards in those two spots only, or some little lights that shine onto the footpath in those two really dark spots only, I could support that. But I'm not supportive of installing any poles. I just think it's too costly and unnecessary. And when I walk there at night too, I see raccoons, I see skunks, and we've done so much development in the neighborhoods that we've created this greenway for a reason. It's supposed to be for wildlife, so the wildlife that's been pushed out of the neighborhoods are using this area at night and to light it up and interfere with them. I just don't think it's worth it. I would be in support of option 3, which is just continue to monitor conditions and community need. I know that doesn't address the 57 people that wanted lighting, but at the same time, I'm not sure if those people, if they saw that it's $1.25 million, if they would really need it. I think it was good to explore it. The other thing, if people really want to do something, I could support an option 4 of looking at just in those two dark spots to light them up a little bit instead of the full hybrid plan. I do think you did a really good job based on the referral and what was asked of you and analyzing the responses. But I think that 57% of people don't feel that it's necessary to use the path at night at all. I use it and I think it's fine. So I don't think I'm gonna support moving forward with doing lighting at this time. I'm definitely open to seeing if people really want it down the road.
Okay, good. Andy?
Thanks, and through the chair. First, thanks for the report. I remember when the fellow came forward speaking about it, and we probably all use this pathway quite a bit, walking or riding. And I agree that there are large portions of it that are fairly well lit with the various lights around. And I also agree that there are 2 or maybe 3 spots that are pretty dark. And so I have no interest in recreating the Vegas Strip along the Railway Greenway, but by the same token, in my past, I have dealt with a few incidents that were enabled and probably contributed to by a lack of lighting. And lighting is one of the easiest, cheapest, and best ways to improve public safety. So I wouldn't want to discount that. And so sometimes you don't know what the public safety risk is until, unfortunately, you have some kind of tragic incident, and I don't want to wait for that to happen either. So I don't mind the option recommended, option 1, but I too would probably prefer one that didn't include continuous lighting. I'll listen to what other people have to say, but the continuous lighting one does cause me to pause and think, is that really necessary? And perhaps what we could start with, if other people thought the same thing, would be, more like a spot lighting done in the 2 or 3, I'm not sure, I haven't been on that path in the dark lately, but those areas, and improve that from a safety point of view. So that's what I'm thinking now, and I'll listen to what other people have to say. Thank you.
Carol?
Yeah, I mean, a great report. You really dug down into this issue. I was very impressed. I have a couple questions. Do you have numbers of how many people use the path at night?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, with our eco counter that we have in place, or that transportation has in place along the Greenway, just south of Francis Road, I believe, we do have a number of data points related to that. We can certainly delve into that. There's a lot of different criteria we could look at, sort of based on the specific mode, specific time of year, specific hours. At this point, we don't have a figure giving us that complete picture in terms of users outside of daylight hours.
I think that the committee would have an easier time making a decision if they knew, is there 1,000 people there every night, or is it 5, Like, I think it just makes a difference. And then, are there any RCMP crime statistics to justify the lights?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, so we were in touch with the RCMP bylaws and health, safety, and wellness staff who confirmed there were fewer than 5 complaints to bylaws about e-bikes traveling at excessive speeds along the Greenway. And there were no incidents filed with RCMP pertaining to the Greenway specifically. There were a few bike incidents on Railway Avenue.
That doesn't surprise me. We know the e-bikes go far, far too fast, and we've heard so many complaints, especially from seniors that, get their wits shaken out of them. I'm wondering, it's an unrelated issue, but did we ever look at speed bumps to slow those bikes down?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, I'm not aware of us looking at that specifically for an application on the Railway Greenway. We do work closely with our teams across the city, first and foremost transportation in terms of, and bylaws in terms of enforcement and signage to that effect.
Oi?
Yeah. Is this on? I can't.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
At the end of the day, sometimes with things like speed bumps and these pathways and stuff like that, the challenge is that people that use mobility scooters and things like that have trouble with them, so we generally don't recommend that.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, well, I like the idea of ambient lighting, light the path, don't light the whole area, because people live nearby and they're not going to appreciate it. I know the animals won't appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Michael?
Thanks. Valuable discussion occurring. I definitely agree with everything Councillor Glanders mentioned as her being a user of it, more probably frequent than the rest of us. I know for myself, using some of the trails that are just adjacent to city roads, that overflow of streetlights usually is all you need. In this case, there is the deciduous trees that will drop leaves, and then more light will reach the trail. I want to point out one part that I noted from the report. The first line of the conclusion, on page 51, says, between May 28th and June 30th, staff conducted the comprehensive citywide public engagement process. So we basically chose 1 month to ask for public input. That month is also, June is bike month. Bike to school week, bike to work week happens in there. It's typically a time where people get outdoors. They try and get their routine using those outdoor trails or a little bit more. So if we're asking people for their feedback at that time, I think it would lead to more people saying, yeah, make the space I'm going to use better. Whereas if we did 6 months later, like in December, might not get the same result. So I hesitate a little bit, basing everything off data from that month, and the fact that one of many bullet points in the summary of comments that were expressed for lack of support. The last one was lighting may increase the number of users at night, potentially encouraging behavior that would disturb nearby residents, kind of counter what Councillor Hobbs was mentioning, where sometimes lighting can deal with safety issues, which I agree it does. But also I've seen a lot of videos of people going up to people's front door and doing things that are not not legal, and they're in light, there's cameras on them, and they don't really care. And so I think potentially lighting this area up could result in more negative effects to the homeowners in the area, among other reasons in here. So I would support that potential option 4, otherwise option 3, and that option 4 that I kind of heard Councillor Glanders referring to is kind of that 2 or 3 spots that perhaps are a bit darker and could use the ambient lighting to support those. But again, I think we have technology on our devices and phones that light up and all that other stuff. We just approved something last night that was a dark sky initiative. I don't know if what we're potentially looking here, are we comparing, or are we analyzing them through that dark sky initiative as well? And how long through the night would these continuous or intermittent or ambient light actually be on? Would it be for the full night, or are we talking a portion of the night? So I'm not sure if there's any comments staff can make to anything I said there. Otherwise, it's just an expression that I would support option 3 at this time.
Okay, good. Bill?
Yeah, thanks very much. A good report, good analysis of the issue. Those of you that will recall when I think it was Staff Sergeant Kruger of the RCMP came forward to put that on the table. I don't know if any of you were around then on it. It was rather interesting when it came to fruition on it and why it came. You've done a good analysis of it, but I have a couple of comments, if I may make. It reminds me we had another BART park along here. We've got a problem with e-bikes. Correct me, staff, if I'm wrong. On Railway, are there not bike lanes? Oh, really? Oh, my goodness. And we've got a $14 million linear park for bike lanes, and we've got probably $100 million in bike lanes on Railway? Oh, my. Rather interesting how we look at things. Don't laugh, Andy. I agree with Laura on the 2 dark spots. If there are issues, I think we should deal with them. And if we need a light there, we deal with it. Michael hit it. I ride the Railway, and I use the bike lane. With regard to the foliage and the underbrush, and Michael mentioned that they are deciduous trees. The light comes in there. I think if we cut some of the tall grass from the east side so that light does come into it, it becomes very thin. In case you didn't know, 1.25 is 1% on the tax draw next month. So hopefully if we're going to put this in, make sure you're going to vote for taxes, because your taxes just went up 1%. Okay? But I'm more concerned about addressing the e-bikes and that kind of thing. They shouldn't be there. We've said that from day one. And it's the same on the major dikes. And you don't hear them, and you turn around and you got a bike in your face. I think that is another issue that has to be dealt with from a safety point of view. It's just not the park issue at the moment. But there are places for the e-bikes. Like I said, we've got a lane going north and south on Railway as well. You don't need to be on there. So I think that's something we should look at. And I think we should be looking at that bike when we purchased it, and we had a linear park. Harold Steves and I put it forward. It was $14 million. CP was selling it, and we looked at it as a linear park for the greatest number of people. There are people along the way with the neighborhoods didn't want us to have it. And but because it is well used and it's an extremely valuable asset for the community, I think we should leave it as it is and deal with some of the issues and improve the areas identified by Laura and maybe any others that are on it. I don't think we need lights on it at all, to be quite frank with you. I felt that before when it came forward. However, sometimes you have to let a process go through to see the whole picture and not let emotion go with you at the time. What do we have, we heard five incidences over, when did we purchase this and put that in? Over 20 years? 5? Sorry?
Since 2012.
2012, well, it's almost 15 years then. Okay, thereabouts for 14 years. So that's where I stand, Mr. Chairman. I like Laura's identification, a user. Let's fix that up. Let's put some funds there to do it, whatever it is, and have that go back to that. And I won't be supporting adding an increase in taxes, 1.25 next month when it comes forward, because then we're gonna have to pay for it somehow. And it's taxpayers' money, so I think we mitigated. It's great. I think staff have looked after it very well, and I love the trees, I love the foliage, love whatever, and let's address the issues that are on the table.
Okay, Laura, I think you have a motion?
You make a motion.
Okay, I mean, I'm a little bit torn. I would like to just move option 3 if I thought that everybody was okay with just leaving it as a status quo. But if we want more information, we could also refer it back to look at just lighting in the 2 dark spots and see what the cost would be. If it was going to be significantly cheaper, then it'd be worth considering. But I honestly think my preference is just option 3 for now. So I will move that and just see if that goes.
Well, can you say that, so we recommend option 3 for now, but at the same time, we give directions to staff.
Great.
To
Okay, perfect.
further investigation.
So move option 3 for now, and then there'll be, okay?
Yeah.
And then there'll be a referral for staff to investigate another option of
Options,
some
yeah.
additional just ambient path-only lighting on the 2 to 3 dark spots where necessary, with cost implications of that.
Right, I think this consensus that some lightings is needed, but not
Yeah.
doing too much, Yeah. Okay. So,
Is that seconded?
Andy? 1 second? Okay, so call a question. You want to say something?
Oh, it is moved and seconded, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so just to clarify what we're moving, status quo, and the referral is to look at ambient lighting only?
No. First, January, I think further investigation of the options.
So if it's further investigation of the options without limiting it to ambient lighting and spots, because there might be more than 2 spots, then I could support it if it's a general. Okay, all right, thanks for clarifying.
Yep. Okay, good. So call a question, those in favor? Opposed, motion carry. Okay, Michael?
Thank you. Yeah, just a quick, it shouldn't take too long here. So we received a kind of a package of information back and forth on October 8th, including comments from Director of Park Services and a number of different organizations such as Eden's Way Farm Sanctuary, Rabbitats Rescue Society, Animal Alliance of Canada, Saints Rescue, and more, around the city having originally a date to have organizations provide an expression of interest. And the original date was set to close for that expression of interest on October 4th. Staff received a lot of letters that we also received, and then they've extended it to November 1st. But in many of these letters from the organizations, they said that it's quite a comprehensive thing for them to apply for, and that I think at least 2 of them mentioned a date of March, sometime in March of next year would be more appropriate. So I'd like staff to kind of provide first a comment on the urgency of why it needs to perhaps be in November. And if there is no urgency, then perhaps I would like us to give direction that we further extend the date to March.
I think Todd's going to take the question.
Sure. Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, I'll jump in first, and if there's some more infinite details, Alex is a bit more behind the scenes. Ultimately, this is purely an expression of interest. It is very high-level information. It's just really asking people to come forward if they are interested in pursuing this. as an option to provide the service. The second step is the much more in-depth step where they do have to provide background information, costing, analysis, et cetera, et cetera. Typically, when we go out for these types of processes, the period is relatively short, as we kind of had in our original submission. But based on the feedback in support of Rabbit primarily, we listened and we said we'll gladly give an extension. As for this process, this is more than adequate for a typical submission of this nature.
Okay, then just a quick follow-up then. Do we know if any of the organizations are pleased by that extension to November 1st, knowing that we're just looking for the expression of interest at this time and the more in-depth process comes after? Have we heard any response from any of these groups?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, no, we have not heard any feedback.
Okay. We won't have another meeting of parks until after this next deadline. So perhaps this could be brought onto the next agenda of parks to hear the response on the expression of interest. And maybe by that point, we'll have heard from some of these other groups. And if we at that point hear that there's a lot of disapproval with how that process has gone, perhaps we can open up this again. And also, could staff also comment on that urgency? Like, what are we trying to deal with in the urgent manner of this current expression of interest and process?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, the expectation of the information that we're asking for at this point through the expression of interest process is, if I may, proverbially speaking, it's almost like submitting your resume or putting up your hand. Yes, should an opportunity arise whereby the city would be making a request for formal bids, please make sure you include my name in the distribution. So at this time, we're seeking response from the marketplace of capable and interested parties to identify themselves to the city so that should we go to a request for proposal where we'd be asking for more information on scope, fee, staffing capacity, their capacity, their methods, et cetera, then we know who to send that to.
Okay. Carol?
So I'm fine with the way it is then, thanks.
Have we had any success in the past dealing with the rapid issue with any group that we've worked with?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, yes, we've had some success with respect to small pilot projects such as at Dover Park.
Okay, perfect. I mean, I have a place up at Mount Baker and there's suddenly rabbits there. And I've warned them, if you don't deal with it, you're going to end up like we have, where they're everywhere. And you hate to see them getting run over by cars and whatnot, but yeah, it's hard to know what to do. I know what Harold would say if he was here, but it's not a popular option. So good luck.
Okay, good. That's it? Okay, so a motion to, I know that there's no manager's report, right? Okay, then move to adjourn. Move. Oh, okay, Michael?
Sorry, yeah, just a question I was going to ask at the end here, if manager's report could provide any Bark Park enhancement construction. I know we did get a memo October 8th around the kind of construction notification, but since then, what's the latest and greatest?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, absolutely. Thank you for mentioning. I think on October 8th, we've sent a memo to council updating on the beginning of the construction. So since then, staff has mobilized on site. Up to today, we've basically finished half of the base preparation of the new MUP to the north of the Bark Park. Next up, as we've said on the memo in by the end of this month, we'll try and finish the rest of the path. So basically, right now, we've started from the parking lot to the midpoint. So for the second half of the month, we look forward to finish it for the whole length. And then in the beginning of November to December, we'll also be looking forward to installing fences, et cetera, that separates the new multi-use path from the from the off-leash dog area.
Carol?
Thank you.
Sorry, I have a question as well. What's happening with the off-leash dog park in the Steveston, London area?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, the off-leash dog park in the London Steveston Park is finished as of beginning or mid of summer, so a few months ago. So far, we've received a lot of appreciation from the community, thanking the city and council about this initiative. They also recognize that in the future, in the near future, a new drinking fountain will also be installed to the north side of the new park.
And what about the residents who backed onto that area that were so concerned at the time?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, so far we have not heard any negative feedback or any feedback from those residents.
So no news is good news.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, Bill?
No, I'm fine, I'm sorry.
Okay. So, Laura?
I'm fine too.
Okay, good. So, with adjournment, the meeting is adjourned. We still have the closed portion. So may I have a motion for compliance?